Hi, I'm Clay Birkland, host of the Local Podcast. On this episode, I'll be talking with Alan Hojer from Keep Farmers Farming about making a succession plan for your operation. Tune into the Local Podcast on the Big 81 this Saturday at 2:05. Welcome to the Local Podcast. I'm your host, Clay Birkland. I'm happy to have with me here today Alan Hojer from Keep Farmers Farming. Alan, thanks for coming out.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
I've been looking forward to this since, I think, June when we first met at the Governor's Ag Summit up in Deadwood. Really liked what I heard you say, and I'm excited to be able to share it with some of our folks around here. So
Perfect.
There's so much to cover on succession planning. I don't even know where to begin. I know we're here to discuss primarily succession planning, but I don't think that even scrapes the tip of the iceberg about what you've been doing. So I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit to kind of tell me how you got it started and in the direction you're taking Keep Farmers Farming.
Yeah. So my journey in this working with farmers and ranchers around the state of South Dakota, really started about 12 years ago. And it was with First Dakota National Bank. It was an idea that was put out there, and we got together, and I decided to get involved. It was really, I was inspired to get involved. I think I was kind of living it that way at home as well. Yeah. And so it was top of mind as I'm working with my son in our operation, of which I'm involved in an operation today, of which, by the way, he's running it, and I'm working for him.
Then you've succeeded.
Yeah, thank you. But nonetheless, through that journey, I've worked with just over 400 operations during that time frame, and that continues to today. Now, on January 1st, we transitioned the Keep Farmers Farming program from First Dakota National Bank to the South Dakota Ag Foundation. Mm-hmm. And what that did, it just opened the doors to everybody, which is important. We never did just work with any particular driveways. Every driveway was always an option.
Yeah. But
this really allowed us to be out in the marketplace.
And you've been every corner of the state since.
Every corner.
Is there all ag operations primarily is your focus?
Yeah, I primarily focus on all ag operations. Obviously, I've done some other businesses as well, but ag primarily is my focus. Farms and ranches.
Yeah, yep. And there's no size constraint for the folks that you're working with?
No, that's never been a restriction at all.
Is there a typical experience for you, or is everyone exceptionally unique? What?
Every family has their unique journey, their unique situation, but there is something that's a constant with everybody, is we're going to start with coffee.
Yeah.
We're going to just sit down and visit and try to figure out, for me, I call that my discovery part, to try to get an understanding of really what the operation is going through.
What are the highest hit list items that you normally experience as you're working with a family?
The levels of complexity, which really fall into people first. The people complexities, the mechanics, we can work through there. We have to understand the people. And there's a lot of different pieces to it. But in those first meetings, I'm really listening for what is the vision? Is there a vision? And if not, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that word. It's very important.
Does everyone have one? They just haven't quite put it to words yet? Or do you have to help them construct that on occasion?
Oh, a lot of construction.
Yeah.
But in reality, many do. They just never thought about it that way. So it's not that people don't have a level of planning, in thought, but they really just don't know why. And so to try to organize that, and what it does, it kind of puts some power behind it. And then all of a sudden, things begin to fall into place. I know it sounds easy. It's not, and it takes time.
Well, it's very personal.
Yeah, it is. No, for sure. We're talking about the most important thing in their life they have to get right to feel good at the end of the day, because we're all looking for peace.
Yeah. That's probably the two things you've already mentioned that I heard from you when we were in Deadwood is the vision and the peace that you have in the end. And you have to have your vision for your operation. Mm-hmm. And when you know that vision is in concrete, then you can hopefully find peace with the way you set that up to actually occur.
That's correct. And it's not just the children that are working in the operation. We have other children as well that are not involved in the operation. Parents will not find that true peace until they know they've made plans, and took care of everyone. How we do that is what really is unique about each and every family.
We share a like vision and a like desire to have everybody have a vision and have that peace at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably speaking for most of the farmers and ranchers in western South Dakota, or excuse me, the entire state, but for our folks, they want that, and a lot of them are hesitant for a number of reasons on how to get there. They don't want to make the decision, they're not ready to make the decision, or they don't know how to start that process. And I think that's probably the greatest help you can be to people. So can you kind of give me an idea what that looks like from your perspective and how people can best start down that process?
Yeah, it's interesting because you just made a statement that everybody wants peace, right?
Yeah.
But frankly, people don't know that that's what they're actually looking for. So once we get that word up there and we find agreement on that, then okay, if that's really what we're looking for, where do we start? And again, that's why that coffee thing is so important up front. It's literally simple, so we can just talk. And you start to lay some of that groundwork, and you start to find some of those small agreements that who can't agree to the fact that we want peace?
Yeah.
But if you don't know you're looking for it, there's just something missing. There's a hole. There's a void. And once they grasp that, then it's, okay, so now where do we go? Usually those first meetings are with the parents, or I call it the client, whoever calls. Yeah. So we're starting there. They're generally the leaders of the family, the asset holders, and we're just having those conversations. At that point, I'm learning a lot about how many people are involved, and tell me a little bit about the operation, which helps set us up for the decisions, where do we go next. And I say it that way because this is not a canned process. It's very much, I know from a bigger picture and process, the things we're going to go through. The journey with each and every operation may be different depending on a lot of different things. It could be complexity of people, it could be complexity of operational things that are going on. It could just be the pace of decision making of people too. It's very important that we adjust to who people are and how they process information.
Yep.
And we're different there. And so with that in mind, then let's just say that we got to the point where we want to get additional family members involved because they are involved in the operation. I may have some one-offs. First, we're going to have a group meeting. I'm going to get to meet everybody, just kind of a meet and greet, and again, tell them who I am. Allows the parents to tell why they're bringing me on board or keep Farmers Farming on board. And it's not just me today, by the way. We do have another consultant that's come on here in the last few weeks, which, there's so much work to do. And then at that point, I'll probably actually have some one-on-one interviews, because generally you'll get some information, I call them the one-offs, that you're not going to get in that first group setting. And I'm not about putting the spouses in the closet either.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're married, right? I want them involved as well, to the extent that they wish to be involved.
Yeah.
And so that's really what that looks like up front.
And once you've gotten to that part of it, then I assume you have to start talking with accountants, attorneys, and bringing in some professional help. So if you need documents drawn, further decisions made about making an LLC or something. Putting words in your mouth, which I shouldn't do.
No, great point. I am not an attorney.
Yeah.
I am not their accountant. I'm that facilitator of a lot of things to get people ready for those professions, trust department people. I'm not going to do anybody else's job. But the point is I'm getting them ready, and at the point that we can bring those professions in and not waste their time. I mean, we're prepared for that. We want them in because they are part of the overall team, no question.
Just to give an idea of how busy you currently are, you started with a small handful of people, and then through the outreach that you've been able to do so far this year, I think you probably have more than you can handle right now comfortably, but...
Yeah. I'll say I'm carrying a load, there's no question, but that's part of the strategy to... get it to the level that it makes sense to bring on additional consultants. And our challenge is how do we get somebody trained and all those pieces, and to have that much volume to work with is really our training approach as well. I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to work. I like it, and I'm very inspired. And that's also a couple words too. We should talk about this as well. The difference between inspiration and obligation. That's for me. It's very important that people are inspired on a day-to-day basis to do what they want to do. And if it's at the farm or the ranch, let's keep them inspired. We need to have these plans in place so people don't just they feel obligated to be there for equity. We want to be there inspired to build and grow a successful business for future generations. And I know those are just words, but the business is the same, but how people approach that business really changes when people are inspired. So I'm very inspired to do this job. I like what I do. It's very rewarding. I actually call it Ag Mission, a form of mission.
Yeah.
It's very inspirational to me, and we're doing what we need to do to help.
I've too often seen the side comment from mom or dad that if you stick around this place, it'll be yours someday.
Yeah.
And that's as far as the conversation ever really goes. It's not quite put on paper, put to print, had in conversation with the new spouse. Well, this is going to be ours someday. Well, what does this consist of? And really, even what does ours consist of? Mm-hmm. And until you clarify some of those things, I think over time it is hard to stay inspired to show up to work every day when you're getting this ambiguous "this someday." Well,
yeah, we can live on hope so long.
Yeah,
and if you think about that comment, and we're changing generations, and I'm not saying that didn't really work in previous generations. It's not that effective today. Number one is our children are smarter than we were at that age. Okay, and that's thanks to us.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah. More information is available to all of us every day.
It's just different. And their need for information so that they can lead their children for their career paths is at a whole different level and a whole different pace than previous generations. And the worst thing we can do is hold information back when we understand our operational intent and what we want to do. Let's get it out there so everybody can plan all the way down the tree. But we always have to remember it's yours to give. It's nobody's to take.
Yeah,
it's the parents to give.
Very well said.
And I say give it. I didn't say give the asset, but give the information so people can plan. Yeah. That in itself is a huge accomplishment right there.
I think it's pretty easy when it's your business to think it's such a unique thing to you. And I think part of both of our mission, and I had Kyle Holt on a previous podcast with the South Dakota Ag Foundation. I think he would be quick to remind us that agriculture is the largest producer of goods in the state of South Dakota. We create more revenue, we have more equity, we have more impact on our state than any other industry. And that's because of the number of mom and pop and operations that we have across the state. Mm-hmm. Every one of them contributes to that. And it's a massive amount of equity that's going to change hands here in this generation and the next generation. And any plans we can have to have that happen smoothly,
correct,
is better off for us, our neighbors, our state.
Yeah. Yeah, and how we do that could really set operations up for operational success. And I say put them on offense, or if we don't do that correctly, and I'll just use that word because that can vary depending on the operation, we can actually put that operation on defense. Because we are talking about masses, we're talking trillions of dollars of equity, of wealth that's going to change hands. And
yes, sir.
By 2048, I mean, the number's unbelievable. And the wealth of America is sitting right here in rural America.
I would agree with that.
And so 100%. The pressure on that is on us.
And having some experience in succession management, cash is really easy to manage.
Yeah.
You can divide it down to the decimal point.
Yep.
Give it away however you want to distribute it. Land, cattle, farm equipment. It's hard to split that down the middle and make it fair, a word I despise, but it's used quite frequently. To do that equitably to everyone involved is very challenging, so it does take time. You can't just sit down in an afternoon and say, well, we're going to cut it in half.
Right.
none of it cuts in half easily and well.
And they're actually a different kind of asset. If you think about cash, it's actually an appreciating asset that's very liquid, right? We talk about land. I mean, I've never met anybody yet that the day they bought land, it actually cash flowed.
Right.
So we're purchasing a negative return asset, and even when we have it paid for, we're talking about a low return on a return on investment. Appreciation over time is a return you have only if you sell it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really an interesting world that we're in, and that's why that passion behind that is so strong, and the family bond and everything else.
Yeah, the number of lives you can impact in the state of South Dakota in the next however long you keep doing this is huge.
Yeah, a lot of work to do.
Obviously, I would refer folks to you for your expertise and your help in getting them through that succession plan, but I know you don't just get referrals from bankers, you get them directly from, I always call it the drip into the pool, where the ripple effect. You work with neighbor A, and he talks to neighbor B, and she talks to neighbor C, and over time you've grown. How do people reach out and contact you? And
yeah, it's interesting. A lot of referrals come from past clients or clients I'm currently working with.
The biggest compliment you can have,
which is very nice. Right away, that gets the trust piece taken care of in a hurry.
Yeah,
I mean, it helps a lot. We have a website, South Dakota Ag Foundation. All of our information is on that. You can look that up. I mean, on Google, Keep Farmers Farming program is very visible. But I would talk to your lenders, because, again, I want your lenders to be very much involved to the level that they wish to be. And they have relationships with their lenders, with their accountants, with their attorneys, all these things. And I think the market's starting to understand that we're not out there competing for anything. We're actually there to help everybody and everybody involved. And, that's opened a lot of doors.
How many folks are you helping today, would you say, off the cuff?
Well, currently today I'm working with 48 operation, which consists of 114 families.
Yeah.
And I'm adding. I'm not subtracting.
Well, that's a compliment to you, and we certainly appreciate those efforts, because it will make a difference for our children, our grandchildren, as we go on. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap this up? The table is yours. You can go as deeply as you want to, or
I do want to talk a little bit about what I consider to be the history piece of transition.
Yep.
And I hope I'm not going to take too much time.
No, we have as much time as you like.
Because I think it begins to normalize what we're going through. I've been very public with this statement that agriculture has never went through this kind of transition before. And so to make a statement like that publicly, you kind of have to defend it. And so if you really go back in history, back to the Homestead Act up and come up through World War II, we had the pandemic in there, we had World War I, we had Great Depression, we had stock market crash, we had World War II. I think we can agree that agriculture was really in a survival mode. Yeah. There probably wasn't a lot of transition conversations that happened. Once you get through World War II, and by the way, World War II was very good to agriculture because we literally were feeding the world. And there was a lot of cash that was piled up post-World War II, of which... in estate planning, and I do a lot of estate planning with farms and ranches as well, I began to hear those stories of how grandpa or dad bought 3 ranches. If you wanted a farm or you wanted a ranch, they just bought you one. Transition was complete.
Yeah.
And that was really going, and because they had the cash to do it.
Yep.
That kind of brought us up through the late 60s, 69, moving into the 70s. As we got into the 70s, that became less and less possible because land values were beginning to rise. And inflation was going on. So people were starting to purchase things for their operations to bring the children into the operation, try to figure out how to work together. Well, then all of a sudden the 80s hit, high interest rates. There was a lot of money borrowed to try to expand those operations. And then we all know the stories of the late 70s and the 80s, of which a lot of that generation left. And of course, we had a recovery period through the late 80s and 90s. And then we got into the 2000 government policy and a lot of wealth being developed, land values going, a lot of things going on at the farm that made it possible again to bring the kids in, right?
Yeah.
And so the transitional experience of keeping these operations unified and work together, like we're talking about, has not been done to this level in the past. I believe the experience we're going through today is what the 70s and the 80s would have been like had we not had the farm crisis.
Yeah.
The difference is the number of operations that we had to work with back then was at a whole different level than what we ended up with now, which puts a lot of pressure on. We have to get this right, or we're going to consolidate to a much greater level much faster. And so I think history is really important to understand how we got here. And if you feel like things are complex at home, guys, that's normal.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. Reach out so we can help you through this.
Well, I think you're very correct with that. And up through World War I and II especially, you had 3 and sometimes 4 generations of a family living on an operation all at the same time.
Yeah.
Transition was never even a question. It just
survival
had to occur, and it did occur, and you had 10-year-old kids milking cows all day to survive and put food on the table, period. And then as we became more industrialized, we had the capacity for 1 or 2 or 3 of the kids to leave the operation, go to the coast to work on airplanes, and then come back and decide they wanted to be part of it. And you hear a lot of stories. We have a lot of operations that we work with that were built in the 30s, and they bought the place for past due taxes on the real estate, so their basis in it is virtually zero. Land was kind of a liability through a lot of that period of time, and until probably into the 60s, nobody really got too carried away about acquiring land because you could always rent the place next door. And we get high wheat prices. That into the 70s, and it started to make it more economically valuable to keep some of that and retain some of that. And we went from 4 generations being on a place together, 3 very normally being on a place together, to a point where I think the average landowner, I've seen the statistic for Illinois and Indiana, the average landowner is like a 78-year-old female. So suddenly we've drawn it to a point that we've never had before to affirm what you're saying, where I don't know how we would ever guess the amount of capital that is tied up in real estate in America, but somebody's going to own it.
That's right.
Do you want to be your family? Do you want to be a corporation that doesn't buy groceries at the store in town, doesn't buy parts from the local dealer, they get it from 3 counties away? Has a big impact on our communities.
Huge impact. Main Street matters.
Main Street matters.
We got to be thinking about that, no question.
And it's keeping those families, to the name of what you do, keeping farmers farming. It's keeping those families on those operations. It makes those main streets stay viable as we go forward. And just a small job in front of you.
In front of us. It's going to take everybody.
Us, yes.
It's not just,
cooperation from mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, daughter, son. We all need to work together on this to get to the finish line if we want to do it so it's successful. And
we're only going to be as effective as people wish to help themselves. It's still going to come back to that.
Yes, sir. Well done. Anything else you want to add? Again, the table is yours if you want to keep going.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. There is help out there for people, and reaching out for that help is a strength, guys. It's not a weakness. We're all going through this together. And that's why it's really important we do normalize it so that it is an active conversation. Very important.
Well, I've been in the banking business for over 30 years now, and a lot of the people that I work with have become some of my very best friends. And the ability to bring them to you and help move them across the finish line so they can see the success for their operation is something I really look forward to and really hope we can get done. 'Cause
you bet.
It's very important.
Seeing somebody find peace is a great reward.
That's a good spot to end it.
It is.
Thank you for your time, Alan.
Thank you.
Pioneer Bank and Trust, member FDIC.